Hi guys, how are you going?
Uh, I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah.
I
So
have
yes, we have Ken and Fisher team three here. So we are ready.
excellent, and I have Luke Brooker here with me as well. We don't have Chris Hood yet, so I'm just going to check in with him.
Yes.
So I'm just checking in with Chris Hood. While we wait for Chris, I might as well give a very quick high-level summary of the initiative and the background information behind it. So as you would have read from the initiative summary, we're a two-sided marketplace. So we have the requirements of our sellers, who in the scenario of this initiative are our content partners, our providers of content, as well as our buyers, who are the employers and the learners, right? And both of these parties have requirements which relate to different types of training that can be delivered either online or offline as well. So that can include scheduled items such as events, webinars, meetings, training sessions, lunch and learns, brown bags, all of that sort of thing. And we need a better solution than what is currently in place with our awards feature to service those requirements. And that is needed for us to be able to scale as a business, but also to be able to support the needs of our existing customers, such as St. John Ambulance and QFES, who are both currently on legacy versions of Go One, and who need to be migrated to the current version of the platform, but who cannot currently do so due to the limitations of the event feature.
Yeah.
So that is the background, and how we're looking to address that is to improve upon the events feature which is available through Go One.
And sorry.
So Chris is just joining us.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Let's ask for your sharing. Sharing.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can now.
Awesome, great. So what do we want to do with this initiative? We want to make it easier to find, to book, deliver and track face-to-face, blended and facilitated online learning through Go One. We want to reduce the number of customer complaints and support requests relating to events. We want to progress the ability for QFES and St. John to migrate off of legacy. So we're not doing the migration as part of this, but we want to ensure that we are closer to supporting their ability to migrate. We want to see more events created within Go One and more event enrollments captured. And we want to improve the data that's available for use within search and recommendations for things like Training Assist, Seek Learning, Explore, the search on the GoOne.com website, etc. Does that make sense?
Yes. Any question for overview?
Excellent. Okay, great. Well, in that case, what we might do is dive into the walkthrough of the designs.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool.
Oh, we might just need to change to share to Figma instead. Just share.
Can I do desktop?
Yeah.
Or is that way? I might need to.
Okay.
I had set it up that
Can
way.
you guys see Figma?
Yes.
Cool. Let's do. Okay, so I'm going to start with the create flow for creating a course with an event. And what we're covering today is just MVP. I'm going to start with create flow and then go through the management and booking process and go back and forth between that and how that would work, going from the author back to the learner. But to start with create flow, so the first sort of change here, well, actually, the main reason for changing this is for the MMP. So we add an event in, and also starting to use the same language as what's in content reuse and the same type of drop downs. But this would just be course, so wouldn't have to change for MVP. It could stay the same for MVP, and this MMP you can be updated. So this would be the same course creation as what's already in content reuse. So if they add the details and the image and change course access. Now, we'll just get this into fit.
So does that make sense to everybody, what we've shown so far, that click to create course, filling in the course details, getting to this screen? That's what has been implemented as part of content reuse. And now the scenario of adding or editing a course, we're now going to show what it looks like to add an event to this course.
Yes. So we will review this once the feature team 1 is implemented, right?
That's right. So we'll need to be working in line with them.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is already done, but there is one change here, which is the add up the top is slightly different. So it doesn't have this 3 separate things, module, event, and learning. It says add now. So when you go to add something, you have an option. The thing here that's different is there's a new learning item called event. So you click on that, type in the name of your event, add the event. And for the event, you have optionally can add a description. And then you have a list of dates that you can add to. For MMP, we have enable date requests, but we're leaving that for now. So we can add a date. Now, as soon as you add a date, it should set it to the do we have a specific thing we document? Yeah, basically today's date, or like maybe probably tomorrow's date, within like 24 hours of when you created it. Maybe just would be a good one, just to start off with. But then you can, and the other thing that you notice here is the default instructor is the author of the course, but you can remove that and add something else, but the instructor is required. So you can then click on the calendar. Clicking on the icon of the calendar will bring up the calendar, but you can also use the text field to change the date there. Click on the date that you want to change it to. So by default, it'll be based on just a single day, but if you add an end date, there is a lookup for that in a different flow. Just single screen. Next, if you want to add a location, so you can start typing, and this should search. I don't know what we've decided on, what service we're going to be used, but it should be actually doing a location search via Google or something similar. If there doesn't show up, the top option should always be to create one. So this would be, for example, if you just wanted to create a meeting room in your office.
But this should also surface any locations that have previously been used by events on this portal, whether by this author or by other authors.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's then potentially two locations that are being serviced here. One is if I start typing in 2908 Logan Road,
yeah,
it should give me this.
The
fact that this is there's an address here. So Google, what like a geocode address versus if I type Big Cow, it might give me Big Cow because I've created a room here as Big Cow location. But also Big Cow. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So the location name here is come from the this portal, right? From the other portals.
Yeah, from either this portal or from a location service.
Yeah.
I think it would be based on.
It means we will have the location service to store the whole lots of location. Then we can review in this portal, right?
So it means that the location here should we scope them within the current portal or is from across portal or the portal in the one system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would just be the current portal for now, just for like privacy reasons.
Yes.
So for this example, so I have another different type of example that it actually finds one later, but this one is just if it doesn't find anything, the only option is to create. And when you go create, so it now creates a location with the name Big Cow, but then you actually have to enter an address. So if it doesn't actually, so this would be like the office. And then so by adding the location, done. Now it's added the location there with a little map.
The question for I say that we have the online chatbot in the location, so we have the time of the location, right? It's about the previous screen. Can you back to? We have the online chatbot
that's
here.
right.
Yeah, so when you click online, it can hide the other
fields.
and basically just be a online location, and it would just have a name.
And then there's URL that you can specify separate to that as well, the location URL.
So when you add a physical address, it automatically adds a location details field. If you did the other way around, I think there's another example somewhere where you click on, if you clicked online and then hit done, it would actually automatically add the URL field, but have add location details as the option. Swap one of those additional options there are by default. You have the option to set an attendee limit, but that can be left blank. So say if I set one.
So if that's left blank, there is no limit on the event. It can have as many attendees, it can have infinite.
Yep. So done. If you wanted to create a very similar date, you can duplicate the date, and then as soon as you change anything in the time, it then actually creates that date. And say if you wanted to remove this location and then actually find a new one, and this might be an existing location, and if it finds that and just adds it without having to create a new one. And going back here would also work. Go back to the list of events.
Event dates within this event.
Yeah, the dates within the event. Now, if you wanted to go up, this is just an example of how someone might create a course with pre-learning and post-learning now. So if you wanted to edit the module for this, and then you wanted to add another module, got pre-learning, and then drag it up above training. and then add a quiz and just skip through that whole process of adding a quiz.
And just to be clear, guys, again, this is the content reuse logic, which we're showing here. It's just to show the flow of this course containing both an event as well as a module with resources prior to that event, and then a module with resources following that.
Yeah. So now you could add, so they've added post-learning as well, and then they might go set a completion rule that you should do the pre-learning before you do the training.
But it's important to note that module dependency would not impact the ability to enroll into that event, which is a requirement for the learner to enroll into the course, which we'll go through in a moment.
Yeah. And so if they did select the event, this is what it would look like when it's in the review mode.
What does, just sorry for the stupid question, when Luke did the prerequisite, if that doesn't stop you enrolling in the event, what does it stop you doing?
So it would be, we want to enhance it for MVP and other things, and then start sending out like emails. So it would just basically show visually.
You should see that pre-learning prior to
like if you had other learning items, it would still like about from actually being able to do the normal learning items. And it's just the event would actually potentially, like, it would at least also show to the assessors that you haven't done the pre-learning and stuff as well. But it's more of an indicator. Like, what we want to do is, in MP, is have a notification email that goes out before the event, like the 3-day email says, hey, you still haven't done the pre-learning as well. That's part of the journey, but we didn't do it as part of this because it's still like, this is still extra functionality that we have, but it's there. So
I think it's important just to clarify to the team, just because pre-learning, like the prerequisite functionality that already exists, may block someone starting an enrollment in that. And so what we're saying is we'll need to, anyway, just observing that, we need to make that clearer.
Yeah.
So were you able to hear that, guys? So we were just explaining that despite the training module being locked in this scenario, because the learner has not completed the learning items within pre-learning, as part of their enrolling in the course, they need to be able to enroll into the leadership training session event. So they shouldn't be blocked from enrolling into the event.
Yes.
In that the module should not block enrolling to event, right?
That's right.
Yeah, but if they add any other learning items in there, they should still work as normal.
Yeah.
We may it's mostly for MVP. We may sort of enhance some of these features in the future, but we're trying to limit the scope of this for now.
Okay.
Okay, so that was, and then the idea here is then after they got to this stage, then they would publish this event, and then we'll go into like the management flow of this, and I will also go into while that's loading.
Hi. The connection is lost.
6 participants.
Ooh. That's weird. Sorry, guys. Are you able to hear us?
Yes, we can hear now.
Okay, great.
Wait, can I share screen because it's...
Zoom has just done something odd, so we're going to have to exit temporarily and then we'll rejoin. Okay, we're back.
It's sharing? Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. Cool. Okay. So it has a very similar display to the on the edit view here with the list of learning. So you should be able to reuse those items. It has the dates listed here, and if we're for the required event, it has a summary of the dates that are available. So if it has just the 2 locations, it's like the top level, this or this, but it could have, if it has like say 1 location, it would just show just that location. If it has like 10, it would show a couple of locations and 8 more, something like that, for example. And then the date here would be the range. So if it says there's 5 dates available between the 15th of August and the 10th of September, then that would be the range there. The workflow for here is say they've just published the course and now they want to assign it to somebody, just leaving the assign modal as it is for now. So now they've assigned somebody, it shows us it's 23 people assigned. Clicking assign would go to the reports, the existing reports panel, filtered by assign. But say now, go back to this other view. Hopefully this is loaded. So okay. Cool. So now the learner would, if they've been assigned a course that has an event in it, they would get an email saying, this leadership training has been assigned to you by this person. This leadership training includes 1 event. Please confirm which date you'll be attending. And then they can either select the date, which would take them to a modal with the date on the page with the modal, or they could just view course details, which would take them to this view of the course page. And then they can select the date there, and that gets them also to the modal. They have the option, if there's multiple locations, they have the option to filter out just the locations that they want. And then they can select the date. Once they've selected the date, it's selected here and selected here in the list. And the option to switch again was 1 other date available. So if they clicked on that, it would bring up the modal again. Now they can click enroll. They are now marked as enrolled, and it shows the details of the date they have. There's an option to view a map, which should just link to the map on Google. The option to change the date after you've already enrolled is not part of MVP, so that would just be MMP. Now, after they have enrolled, we'll go back to this. So now the person that created the course would get a notification saying you have a new enrollment with the details of the person, the course details, or they can view the attendees. So now that they go and view the course, they see that there's now people enrolled in the actual.
That would be course enrollment, not the event.
Yeah, that's course enrollments, and then in the required event, they can either click through this event down here, or they can click through the event from the event in the.
So the question, I see there are three avatar in the assigned or enrolled list. So what's the order sort of the us and the up-to avatars? So when the last assigned or last enrolled list will be so.
Did you hear Chris Hood's response? The most attractive people. Look, most recent is fine.
Yeah, most recent. I mean, if we can do most recent that have photos, if we rather than showing no photos, like ideally people that actually have photos, and then no, we don't have to be too complicated right now.
It's not.
The number of people have photos.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Tash.
ahead.
I have a question about the location, the location line. So in here, I can see we show the source location by showing underhood or Subayako. But so what field will we show in that location line? Because we have a name and an I don't know, a stay field, but here it looks like we use the stay field and not the name. So I am confused about that.
So yeah, the preference here is if it has a full address and a geolocated address that we use the city or suburb, whatever is for the actual location is.
This looks like the city level.
Yeah,
so
city level.
Yeah, so we will show the city here.
Yeah.
So for you guys, it would show Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happens if we have two locations in the same city?
Would that then just show the one city? Because then we can show the different places later. It's the reason we have it at this level is from the research we have with some like first aid and some other customers is that's if we were going to filter down to see events near me, it's more likely that someone's going to filter by the city.
And then see what suburbs
and then see
districts they're in.
Yeah.
Well, city and suburb, I think, get used interchangeably.
Yeah.
So generally, we don't ever write Brisbane in our address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You write Underwood,
Yeah.
Queensland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Underwood, that'll uniquely organize it.
Yeah.
You have to write Underwood, Brisbane.
But yeah, this is why it's important to have the properly geolocated addresses though, so we can have all of that data to use. So yes, suburb or city level, whatever is relevant in that country. If we don't have, if it's an online address, then it would just show the name of the address. Sorry, the name of the location, if it was just an online. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So now, yeah, if you've seen that there's more people enrolled, you can go and actually look at the event page. So the event page, you can go back to the actual course. It shows that it's an event. So if you look on the back in the course page, it shows that it's a course and it has this is related to the content sharing stuff that we have. So that's somewhat already implemented.
This is equivalent of a learning item page.
When you go to
you can click on it from the
This one here.
yeah, so you can click on it
The
down
learning
here.
item.
So, yeah, it's like a learning item overview. Yeah. So then the overview would just be description with the dates. So if it has no description. If in this view, if because it's an event inside of a course, if you did go to edit, it would go to the edit inside of the course page for this one.
Yeah, so that would take you back to the edit course UI and would have the edit event display within that right sidebar open for this event.
Yes. It's part of the course. So if you wanted to have a look at one of the upcoming events, you could see who, so this is just an example of with the drop down open, but it would be closed by default, obviously. So this you can have a look at this actual date for the event, and you can see who's currently listed as attending. Lots of clones.
Is that going to be okay for all of our customers?
Well, so this is still the author view.
It's still the author view.
Yeah, and we've on the book view we've got a mark of like MMP to just do some research around what we need to do.
We're still just
yeah
administrative author.
Yeah, this is still level. So we can go back to the event level, and now let's pretend that I'm trying to remember which order I did this in. Oops. Oh, that was the enrollment for the enrollment successful. They can go in and this is what it would be like if they, after they enrolled, they did their pre-learning. If that's marked as done, the lock is removed. Then they would start a reminder email. So 3 days out from the event, they would get a reminder. And then on the day of the event, they would get a reminder. Then they could go and view the details of the event, specifically of the upcoming date. This is marked as MMP because we have to work out if this is okay with people to see other attendees. But effectively, it would just be an overview with the description if it has one, the event description, and then the specific date that they're enrolled in. Then with the map, the dates.
So the right sidebar, we also display the event detail and the URL if they are available for the dates, right? So say it's an online event and we should show the URL instead of the address and the event details on the right sidebar, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
We should check that out. Any other details?
You know, if it's an online event, then is there any thumbnail or image or the URL? Or we simply show the URL without the map?
Yeah, so there won't be any map if there is a online event, and it'll just show the link. So yeah, the URL would be required if you make it an online event. Actually, I'm going to confirm that.
I think making optional for now.
Yeah. Actually, that's true. Okay, so I'll go back to the other ones. So now we'll say that once the August 15th has passed, or that particular event has passed, it's like 11 a.m. on that day. So you can go as an author, you can go and view. You can go and view the past event. And now when you look at the past event, the attendees list has a pending list, an attended list, and a didn't attend list. And so you have 7 pending attendees, so that this is to mark attendance. So you can just attended for all of them, or didn't attend for all of them, or you can go through each one and each they either attended or didn't attend, and then you have the option will drop down. If I marked some 4 as attended and 3 as didn't attend, once they are cleared from the pending, if there's no more pending, when the pending tab disappears, and now you just have attended, didn't attend, and then you have the option to mark them all back to the old other way. As part of MMP, we're having an email saying that you've been marked as attended. But if you have more learning, then you would still have to go back to the course and continue that learning. But now that's marked as that you've done that course. And the other thing we have is, now you can also go back to the event level now, and then you can see attendees across all events. So attending is anyone that is attending an upcoming event, and attended and didn't attend are those that have been marked as having gone or not gone to.
So attending would also include those attending that have not yet been marked, but that are enrolled in an event which is in the past.
That is
Marketing.
If there are many attendees, we will do Beijing or display or lazy loss or this.
What was that, sorry?
The question is about if this display have a lot of the records about the user and attendance into what the button we need to show the Beijing.
Is the concern about the bulk actions not being visible by default?
It's for the paging.
Paging.
We page like 1, 2, 3, or we should implement the infinite scroll like this block page. When we scroll down, and it will show the next record automatically. So it's for the paging look. Should give a pager or infinite scroll?
Oh, right. No, I would prefer infinite scrolling for this list. Because it should.
So what is the business rule for marking an attendance as pending? It is for outside event, outside enrollment, or it is for in progress enrollments as well?
So pending is the status of all enrollments in the event until they have been manually marked by the.
So so that's mean for not status, in progress, outside enrollments, right?
So assigned will only appear once they have enrolled into this event. One of the dates associated with this event. If you use assigned to the course, then they won't be surfaced within these event attendee lists. So it will instead show not started, in progress.
Cool, yeah. Makes sense.
I think C and I have talked about having a new table that tracks the attendees that is separate to enrollments. So enrollments will exist and get marked off and whatnot as normal. But the pending attended and didn't attend status would be tracked as part of the event attendee data. I think it's a different status to the enrollment status.
And yeah, I don't know if the one other thing too that changes here, once an event is passed, the metadata up here says past date rather than upcoming date, as in with when it's an upcoming event. So that also changes. The other thing for explore.
Hey, look, another question. If a user re-enroll a course, what should we show for the attendee page? If a user enroll a course, enroll a location more than one time, what should we show for attendee page? We will show the active enrollment status.
Yeah, I see the attended and didn't attend as being a sort of immutable thing. So once if they have attended or didn't attend a particular date, if they go and attend or attend another date somehow, then that would be a separate thing.
So as part of MVP, when it's supporting the ability for the learner to move between dates on an event, if we consider the logic that a learner has to just attend one date against an event to complete that event, so that learner will only appear within the attendee list for one of the dates in that event.
Was there any other questions around booking?
So on the problem from our customer is they cannot enroll to another event after they go to one event in a course. So should we solve that problem in the MVP?
They can enroll into multiple events. So if there's multiple, like if there's another event further down, they can enroll into multiple events. But
in fact, they have to.
Yeah, they have.
So the logic is you have to do all of the events within a course, but you do one date.
One day, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So you pick a date, but then you have to do that event.
And to enroll in that course, you have to pick a date for each of the events.
So at the first time when the learner enrolled in the course, they had to pick which days from all the event to enroll in, right?
Yeah, so this is what that looks like. So the required events, and then it would show the two, and then you select a date for each one, and it does similar to the other one, and then it shows both of those, and then it shows the enroll button.
What happens if I only select a date for the first event, but I do not select a date for the second one?
You won't see the enroll button. So you won't be able to enroll. Nothing has actually been created yet. There's no enrollment record yet until you've specified a date for each of the events, and then you have the button to enroll.
Yeah. Think of it as kind of like when you're choosing a t-shirt online and choosing the size and the color. It's the same type of thing. So you haven't actually committed to anything yet. So in the same way, so here's how somebody has selected the date. They haven't actually enrolled yet, so there's still no enrollments. It's just that this is the date that they've selected for this event. This is one of the dates available. So they're making selections and then they're enrolling.
So can learner change the day of the event after they have been enrolled?
MMP. I see the.
So look, just to confirm, so in the design here, it's only for one event. So if there are more than one event, the enroll button is only visible until you have to select at least one day for each event, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so they've selected all of the dates. That's why it's using the primary button for each of these select dates, because it's the most important thing that they have to do on this page. And so, yeah, we always try to only use this button when it's the main call to action for the page. So that's why there's actually two here. So if there's multiple events, then they have to choose which one that they're enrolling in. If there is only one date for the event, then it would just be selected by default.
Okay, cool.
So
and then yeah, so if there was like 5 events and they all only had one date, they would all just show as selected with the enroll button enabled.
Okay, so the question is, I say that require this event. So what we have a setting or just the first event to show us? Required on the right side bar.
For MVP, we don't have the option to make it optional or not. So, but we will be looking at that later.
Yep.
Okay. Every event is required, the same as learning items are required. And so that would be potential thing we look at later across all learning items. So I think I have another few examples. Also, so when you're creating there's a couple of other sort of different cases here. So if someone was creating a date, if they added an end date, this is what it would look like here. So they would change, and they could go back to a single day by clicking remove. That was that option. Also, if you notice here, it's got the time zone. So if they add, it's probably something I should have said earlier. If they change the location, it should actually change the time zone to the time zone of that location automatically. For MMP, we would look into being able to potentially click on the time zone and customize, set a custom time zone. So which would be useful for online events.
Do we have an UI for the time zone setting? Yeah.
Not yet. So that would basically be clicking on one of those would bring another field, a drop-down field, which is a list, which you would just, when you click on it, has a list of time zones that you could choose.
We're saying that's MMP.
But that's MMP to actually choose time zone. It would, as right now, it would only just update the time zone based on the location.
So what's MVP?
MVP is when you choose a location, it would change the time zone to match that location. MMP would be you could also then you could customize. Like, so if you have an online location, you could then set it something to other than the.
You're thinking the opposite.
I'm thinking the opposite from the perspective that's
More work.
I have a question. So the learner cannot enroll to course if on the day is like if the date of event is not available. For example, we have a course that have 2 events, but on the date it pass, learner cannot enroll to this course, right?
So, if they don't have it available, can they enroll into the course?
Yeah, if the event, if the course does not have any available date, so learner cannot enroll to this course. Yes, right.
Yeah. So and so for MMP, we have, that's where we have the date request option potentially available. But even if that isn't enabled,
Is the question about the display when there are no upcoming events?
If a course with past events, should we allow the learner to enroll in the course in the end?
No, they have to enroll into dates for each of the events to be able to enroll into the course.
Yeah, so I will put in a UI for, say, here to say, basically there is all events have, like, all event dates have passed, and that you can't enroll in that course.
What happens if the course author adds a new event post your course? Hey?
Yeah.
I see that.
This is why I've been
as
so
a semi-common occurrence for a long-lived type course where someone adds to it, or like adds new workshops, adds new things going for it. It's probably not the most highest priority, but it's just probably something.
New events, not new dates.
New events, not new dates. Yeah.
Yeah. So
in other words, I'm going to get another workshop.
Yeah.
For week 6, which didn't exist. I only did week 1, 2, and 4 when I started the course. You enrolled in it. Now there's week 5, week 6 workshops.
Yeah.
Probably not necessarily needs to be solved right now, but
So we will be supporting that, but not as part of
MMP.
I'm just thinking that might solve the question comment.
Yeah, I mean, there is another way of doing that as well. So one way for that to happen is basically, if it's in the list of events, obviously it should have, ideally they're putting the path at the end. I don't know if we allow them to put it before, but then it should send everyone an email that's in the course that maybe everyone's in progress.
I think the future,
MVP,
I think the future requirement
that would be,
is you probably don't want to force everyone to have to select the dates that they're going to attend for a really long course where you might not know in 6 months' time which workshop I want to attend for that one. Yeah, so that's definitely the requirement, is that you don't have to select one enrollment, but that's part of MVP. Yeah. Just there's a certain amount of things we have to cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, I know, do we lock down adding new dates, or do we have to do something?
As in errors when you're editing the course, there are existing enrollments for this. Existing in progress for this.
Yeah. We need to think about that. How do we do it right now if someone's in progress and you add learning items?
They just sticky it.
And they just does it mark, but people that are completed, they're not marked.
Completed, they'll still be completed.
I mean, it would be similar. Try and treat everything.
My feeling is if I showed up here and there were events in this course that I had not selected a date, it would allow me to
choose it. That's what I'm trying to find.
We'll choose it from that point on.
Yeah. So if you see this and then it adds a new date in here, I would add it to there and say select date, basically. I guess the problem would be so then you wouldn't be able to complete the course until you chose the date and completed it. The problem would be that you could potentially complete a course or start a course and then the other date would show up and you missed it and you never complete the course. But
well, the other challenge is the users can be directed to my progress, which won't surface the event in which they're not enrolled. You go to the course overview to see it.
We'll
it's an edge case.
It's somewhat edge case, but we'll write something up for MVP. How do we handle it? Something. If in doubt, treat events as much as like existing learning items as possible. That's the thing. Okay. Now in terms of additional stuff. So I didn't remove I didn't update these. Here's a couple of quick examples like that. I actually shouldn't do that, but examples of what this sort of course page could look like. I need to update a couple of things, but so without a date, it'd just be those details, and if it didn't have a date or an image, then it would just look like that. And sorry, if it didn't have any events, I need to hide this. Basically, it would just look like that. And also the one thing, just little visual things, but this background image here, if they have an image, then it's used as it's just used in the background image, but blurred over the top. With some, you can have a look in Figma here for the colors and things, but it's the dark color with the portal theme color over the top, 20%, and then a blurred version of the photo in the background to avoid image problems, and then only showing the image in full there. So and then if there's no image, then it just shows it without the image. So that's what it should look like without the image, and then when there's an image, it's just like you can just see it blurred in the background. And that's, you might have noticed it too on the events themselves. So when you're on the course, if it's got an image and the event doesn't have an image, it just shows the dark color with a little bit of the course theme color over the top.
So the expectation with images going forward is that there will be one image per course.
So
that will be the same image that you see once more.
Yeah, so that's what, to try and like reduce that image management problem rather than trying to do something complex there. It's just when you add an image, it's just a single image in it. It will just automatically crop to however we want to use it, but try to deter people from doing specific size images and be close to existing things. So this is for the Explore. We haven't touched on this much yet. This is how it would show the events, and it would actually show the title of the event, and with an additional data here that we don't currently have, which is what course it belongs to. So this, for every date, it would show the name of the event and then its location and date. And that's the dates there. So, date and.
Hello. What's the three dot button at the right of the title? Yeah. I mean, we move it from the top of the cap to the middle of the cap.
Yeah. So it's a part of UX Python improvement that P34 is working on. They are working on the updating cost card.
Yeah, so that is an existing update, but yeah, the thing to confirm here will be what shows up in that menu, but it's the same menu that we have had currently up in the top right, but it's there, and that's part of so you shouldn't. The main bit to implement here will be adding in this section, which is the name of the course.
Yeah, so the name of the card is the event title.
The event title. So you can see here is actually just one course, but here's like the two events, and here's the other two events. Sorry, here's one event with the two different dates, and then here's the other one. So, and this is an example of, say, there might be 3 events in the course. So actually show the course, and this is actually one of 3 events that are in the course, and this is like 2 of 3.
The other thing I noticed on this screen is you're trying to be smart and only show time zones when it's not a time zone.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
He's trying to be smart.
Trying to be smart.
Sorry, you're trying to make the system seem smart.
Yeah, so
otherwise you want the team to.
This is sort of the pattern of how most, when I research dates and how they're mostly displayed, it's like, if it's in your time zone, don't show the time zone. If it's in another time zone,
the expectation of the time that you're time you're seeing is when the event is in that location.
Yeah.
Compared to what the time would be for you.
Yeah.
What about online events?
So it would be whatever the event has been set as. So that's why we had that. So it's whatever it's set as. So
they still can have a time zone set. They set a time zone. That sounds like an MMP anyway, like a future thing, nice to have. But if it's an online event, probably could be set in your own time zone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so that's definitely, because it was just an online. I'd definitely say that if you, the one trick is you can add a URL to a physical event. So you can have a physical location and then you can add a URL. So say, we're going to actually have this in the Brisbane office or the Ho Chi Minh office, but you can actually dial in from Brisbane. And then so if you enrolled in that event, then I probably need to have another design for, this is the time locally what it will be, but this will be the time for you, potentially. But there's a lot of helpful things we could do. Some examples for the drop downs. So entering a location should be using the same service to find just a city, suburb, state, or country level. So not actual addresses. So auto-completing.
So what do you want? Sorry, say it again.
So that's city, state, or country, or level, basically. Or suburb, city, suburb, state, country.
So is that a free text field?
It should be searching.
If I type in Brisbane, there's a Brisbane in.
Yeah, it should show both of those options, and then you can select one of them. And so this is autocomplete, on address. Autocomplete on address. So yeah, you shouldn't have to autocomplete to select it. I can do further UI there. Same with the when is upcoming this week, next week, this month, next month, and then custom. And then if you chose custom, it would have from and a to. So that should change and have the extra dates. If it says for things like this week or this month, it should be, say we've got this month somewhere. Say it was the 10th of August and we put in this month, it should show me everything from now until the end of the month. That's why I didn't put dates in here. it shouldn't show anything before the 10th of August, if today is the 10th of August. If you wanted to show that, you would have to go custom.
So we're talking about the calendar month and the events that are occurring in the future for that calendar month.
Yeah, Taylor. So it means if
Week.
if today is 20 August and when we select this month, then this will only filter to the end of August.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if it's on the 30th of August, it should only show things on the 30th or the 31st of August.
Yeah.
The same with the week. If it's the week, would be.
If it's Thursday, then it will show you the events occurring Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
So Monday's considered the start of the week.
That is the one thing that I was like, which one? Eventbrite actually does Sunday as the start of the week. We could just overlap and Sunday is always included.
That's true.
We just say like always Sunday to Sunday is a week potentially.
So we are going to group by the events, right? So it means when we search, we filter this in this month. So we will group by the day, then group by the event title in this month, right? I see a next UI. We filter for next month.
So sorting.
Can you zoom to the filter by this month? The UI for this month, it's not a this week.
Yeah.
So I see in this UI we group by the by that and by event title. It means the same event with different day. We will group by. That's currently in the UI we just group by the month. It's not by the day in the month.
Yeah, so currently
right,
I think they're saying that currently at the moment it says August.
Just August.
Yeah.
There's another month. What are you attending here? What are you intending to show here in terms of
so that's like the actual each day.
So each day, I think C is what the suggestion is here, and that is if you're sorting by the event.
Which is
I don't know if you can sort by anything else, but if like sort by title or something. I feel like if you sort by title, you're not going to have the dates listed like that. You have to just have it.
If you want to see all possible, for a particular event, then one way you could do that is sorting by title.
I do want to also look at like list view in the future, but it's too much. But yeah, that'll be part of the search initiative rather than a.
One. Ideal is probably more along how Meetup sort of does some of those.
Yeah.
Yep. There is some existing. Probably need to do some of the email changes, but that's still coming. But we try not to do massive changes to the emails. It's mostly just adding in some event details. So that's like this would be a probably pretty common thing. I think Kian, that you're finishing off some of that stuff as well.
Yeah. But we'll provide this information within the PRD.
Yeah,
as soon as
this will be in the PRD.
Yeah.
Go through MMP.
So we've done find, we've done book, we've done
overview.
learner.
That was that.
Including selecting of the dates.
Yep.
We've done deliver. we've done manage. So some items we don't have designs for, guys, we were also looking at making some updates to the reporting that's available. So you may be familiar that we have an events report that's currently available within Administer. And that events report includes the event name, the course title, the course cost, date, location, etc. We are looking to update that to display each row as the event date. So each row of that report will be for an event date. We'll be able to see the course title, the module title in which that event is attached. We'll be able to see the event title, the date, time, location. So we've got a description of this report at the top here. I'll just change to the other.
Right, cool.
Yeah. So the existing Administer events report will be updated to include the columns as follows. And will be updated, instead of showing the event level, it'll be showing the event date level. And one of the current challenges we have with the existing report is that I can't click through on the event title or the course title to access the page relating to that event or course. So basically the report is currently pretty useless. So what we would like in the updated version is where the title of the event appears and where the title of the course appears, you can click through on that to view the relevant page. So for course, that will be the course overview. For event name, that will be the event learning item overview that we're implementing. And for the course date and location, that will be the event date details page, which is available also via the event learning item overview.
Yeah. I have a question about the event. Currently, we can only create an event in the course, and
yes.
But in the PRD, I can only see that we create an event in the module. So will we support the event inside a course, or we only support the event inside a module?
That's a really good question. So the logic is that when I'm adding or editing a course and I click to create an event, that event sits within a module. So just like a learning item of any other type, like a text resource or a document or a quiz, that lives within a module.
So we won't do the event that belong directly to a course anymore, but on new event will be belong to a module.
That's right. And what is MMP? So what we won't be walking through today is the concept of a standalone event, just like we have other types of standalone learning resources. As part of MMP, we'll be looking to support standalone events, and as part of that, the ability to then reuse events across courses. But that is MMP. So yes. For MMP, we're creating that event within the context of that specific course. Yeah. This has some thoughts on that. Any questions about that?
Any question?
Angus.
Just a suggestion to avoid overlap work from feature 3 and feature 4. So in event and location management initiative, we redesign the course overview page. And feature 4 is working on the page action for course overview page as well. So I would like to know how can we avoid a conflict work on that space.
We'll need to work, we'll need to involve Tao to make sure that we're involving her as the Scrum Master to make sure there's no overlap of the stories there. And if there is any overlap, that we're just choosing which team will be responsible for that work.
So that means if feature team 4 finish the pay action first, then feature team 3 will have to reuse the pay action for the cost overview page. They have to update the pay action to match with the design, right?
That's right. So we should be using any components that are implemented as part of the UX Patterns initiative. We don't want to be doing that work.
Okay.
Probably suggest that depending on timelines, it probably makes sense for Feature Team 3 here to pick that work up. Since if Feature Team 4 does it, Feature Team 3 is probably going to have to redo it if the whole page changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if there's a component being built that is reusable and whatnot, then Feature Team 4 builds that. But in terms of placing it on the page and whatnot, if all thing else being considered, if they're landing at the same time,
yeah.
Feature Team 3 should probably do it.
In terms of implementing the component,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so you probably notice the edit page action has, as far as the pattern is concerned, hasn't really changed. And down the track, if we added other author actions like duplicating or anything like that at this level, then that would still have a more button. But this concept is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. It wasn't part of page actions, but it's moving it to more like a learner or a manager actions, or something that more people can do, which is so it's two sort of separate areas. So it's different to a page action. So that's the new part here. So we could be reusing this thing, but yeah, this bit would change. So Kian, I'm happy to, if they have already put everything in the more thing, then that's fine. But for these actions, we could potentially leave them. Like in the UX Patterns initiative, we could probably potentially leave them for now and do them as part of this here. If that makes sense.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Also, yeah, for the like and the share and assign actions that we were moving to the more as part of UX Patterns, we can leave that out of UX Patterns if they have not already been done, and save it for here. Or if, yeah, and I'm happy for you to decide who should, you all can decide who should actually implement the patterns, the actions here. So no.
Okay, so we have to keep the action for like share in the more icon, just to make it you expect an improvement, right?
Sorry?
So you are happy to keep the like, dislike, and share button in the more under more icon, right?
Oh, no, I mean, this is where we want to go with the new course updates. It's just that, yeah, when we did UX Patterns, we didn't have a new area here, so we had said to put them in the more, but we would prefer to actually have this pattern now. So if it has already been done, then we'll just have to redo it, I guess. But I was more saying, if it hasn't been done, then we can go back and implement this instead. But yeah, if it's already been done, then we'll leave it and then update it as part of this initiative. Yeah, sorry about that. Because there's also a report, a problem like flagging type initiative, one which should go in the more here too.
Yeah.
So if you go more, it'd be like report a problem. So there's other actions there.
That's being done by feature team 6.
Yeah,
so the report flag option is not a requirement for you guys.
Yeah.
Report.
Yeah.
Report.
Yeah. Cool. Is there any other questions on this?
Are we going for time at 1:30?
Yeah.
So if you're happy to, Chris, we might then go into the technical design.
Yep.
Do you want to stop screen share?
C, do you want to, if we talk about technical design stuff, I guess sort of run through some of what we've been talking about over the last little bit. Maybe you can, so, obviously the key change that's happening here is we're putting these events at the learning item level. So it suggests the way that we implement this is we just leave everything working as it is at the course level for now, and focus on basically new data structures that support these events at this level, and eventually we'll be able to migrate the course events to this. So I know, I updated this slightly from your original diagram, but essentially we've been talking about the idea of adding 2 new services, one for the events, the major events. And you can sort of think about that like any other learning item service. So like assignments has its own data and way it manages some of its own logic. We will logically still have enrollments into a learning object called an event, but the event service will manage specific event logic. And then also discussing the idea of having a geocoding service where we can proxy through some of the geocoding stuff, so we don't have to necessarily add in some heavy JavaScript libraries for other mapping services. And currently we're open to looking at either a couple of different mapping services, but I'm actually quite keen to give Mapbox a try for a mapping service. I don't know if you played with that. But the idea of having a service sort of that sits in between means that if at any time we don't like it, we could swap to Google Maps or any other mapping service.
There's Apple Maps kit now.
Hey. I don't know if I trust that.
No. Yeah.
So the idea of the geocoding service would be that there's a couple of endpoints on that one, which is sort of like I can pass an address and it just proxies through to the mapping service to do the geocoding of that address. The other thing that I'm also suggesting is where we've got in those designs the idea of a little map image. I'm going to go try and find it actually. Is that something like Mapbox actually has a static map service, so you can pass an address and get an image back out of it.
Shouldn't be loading it every time.
Yeah, so that way we don't have to, we can avoid any sort of like heavy JavaScript sort of requirements there. We just load an image in those boxes.
Clicking on the map will distract you.
Yeah. probably if you do have a link, you should go to Google Maps, because that's what everyone sort of uses. Because then if you're on your phone and then go directions and all that sort of other stuff. So that service should be fairly lightweight and simple. Don't want to spend too much time on that one. C's mostly put together the list here in terms of what an event is. So what we're saying an event is now is there is a learning object or learning item that has a type event, which is where the title of the event exists, description of the event exists, same as any other learning item. And then we have the actual dates, or you can think of them as like the sessions. That's where the event data exists. So that's where the start and end date exists. Obviously things like time zone. There is location, but that should be a reference to another object, which is the location. We've got attendee limit, instructors. Probably also need to have the URL in this one as well, which is missing. So location being, sorry?
Location details.
Right, so location probably also needs the details. This is in the other field. I'll just update this as we go, just for those couple of fields missing.
There's location detail.
Oh yeah, location.
I actually have a separate location. It's on the page.
So the details exists here as part of the.
Yeah. That's something that.
So probably don't. Do we need that then?
Hey Chris, so
we can have, if we add in the specific one.
So the location here, so we should differentiate the location based on the portal, right? Because the autocomplete field in the location dash is segregated based on the current portal.
Yeah, so let's also track against the portal that location is currently owned.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's probably things like an ID and things as well.
So I think in the schema we have the detail of the some objects. So I just put some the basic information in depend on the UI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the location will also have a lat and long, which is coming from the geocode service, effectively from the mapping, third-party mapping service we're using. The only other one that did you put in? Yeah, so it, as part of the event data, there should be a, I think for us to manage the attendees, we do need another table, which is for that individual session enrollments. So the learning object, logic here, I think, means we can keep existing enrollments working the same. So we'll still have that learning item record. Once you complete it, you'll complete that enrollment. All that logic will roll up as it does already within a course. But separate to that, at the event level, we'll use the session level, so the date level table to track the attendees. So they're the main data elements, data structures. I think this approach means that we're probably not, we don't need to really majorly rethink how we do events in the back end. It's very similar to how course works. They're just at a different level than they are right now. What does change a bit is that, or what is in addition, like we will index the data to Elasticsearch as an event entity, right? So we can search across it. Using Elasticsearch built-in geo queries, we can just use that lat long information to solve the problem of the search within a radius. Yeah, and so that I think of the big technical things. There is a PID around making this the event data available through our public API endpoints. What I would suggest that we focus on at the interim or at this level at the moment is because we don't have any endpoints around creating content, and effectively adding an event to a course is similar to creating a learning item, some other learning item. What I'd suggest that we focus on is the ability to search for events, the ability, not necessarily to create an event, but to create an event session. Potentially updating those and deleting those, sort of standard sort of CRUD sort of stuff. And then being able to manage the enrollments into those sessions. So I think if we actually do that, we actually put ourselves in a really good position with something like St. John's, who are doing that type of thing. They need the APIs to sort of manage the sessions, not necessarily the events themselves. So they have lots of different sessions, whereas the event or the learning item thing is able to just manage within Go 1 until we have a course creation public endpoints. So I've also thrown in, I guess, a starting point for what an event entity might look like on our public API. We might add a few more of the fields related to some of the details there, but as mentioned, it's just a starting point. Yeah. So the rest of that stuff down there is just around that mapping, links to the mapping information. I guess, I mean, this is obviously a lot of these should be mostly across a lot of this stuff already. So
So the main chain in these event schemas is currently we have just one event have one location and one day. So now we change to one event can have the multi days. So
I think an event can already have multiple locations already.
Not just one. Now we just
remember the API supported a long time ago.
As the UI we just
in the UI we only support one, but I mean the API already support multiple.
Yes, I already just about the you can see the schema I have in raw. So we change to the have the session is one event can have the multiple session.
So yeah, correct. We use the terminology for session agent type. So there to make it consistency between the product terminology and technical. So the session should be the nice.
Yeah, I just note some term from the the design and the PRD, so we need to define the unit term for that.
Yeah, I think we were discussing whether to reuse the existing tables that we already had for some of this stuff, or to create new ones. I think the preference is to create new ones. You can sort of using the existing names here as a guide to how events currently work, and a bit of a model to think about where the changes are. The difference is that you've got this part here, I think, is mostly the same as what we've already got. You've got a module. That module has an event or has a learning item in it, which is a type event, right? And those events can then have multiple. That learning item here can have multiple sessions, multiple events, dates. So the UI uses that term dates. That's what this is here. We add a new date. We're adding a start date, end date, seats. We're linking it to the location, which has the geocoding, the other information, instance ID, title. So logically, the data model is not dramatically different from how we sort of think about events right now. It's just at the level of a learning item. So yeah, anything we want to sort of dig in deeper on what's been documented so far? What's been documented? Like any questions or? Question.
So any problem with this solution on the statistical design? So Angus, stress.
Cool. All right. Are you guys keen with heading down, looking at Macbox?
Sorry?
I was just saying, were you guys keen to look at Mapbox as a solution for the geocoding? Just making a decision on that.
Yeah. So we investigate on the map of.
Yeah. So I did a bunch of looking at, there's a bunch of useful links down here that I found around it. Yeah, I hope that helps there. Just trying to think if there's anything else on the design decisions that we need to make or make that clear. I don't really see too much else that we need to consider. Like everything else is sort of in the UI, which is sort of part of the UI designs.
Yeah.
There was discussions around what we do with the existing courses and events. So for the development of this thing, we leave them as is for now, like so they can continue working. If we when we do come to the point where we need to look at migrating, any course level events would need to be migrated to a learning item level event, probably under some new module called event.
Events.
Events.
Yeah, because it would look similar. You could put it at 12.
Well, the good thing is you're always going to have one event. With that course one,
and then
you'll have multiple sessions.
Yeah.
So they'll need to be mapped into the multiple sessions, but you always have one event.
Yeah.
So you can call it whatever you want, but it won't need to have multiple.
Yeah, okay.
This is only ever one course event.
Yeah, even though people were using it for different. Yeah, for some reason. I don't think people mustn't have actually used them properly. That actually, because people have ones that are like session 1, session 2, but like over 5 weeks or something.
So, I mean, the suggestion here is that we will go down a path where we will create a new module called events that will have one learning item event in there, which will be the title of the course, or the title of the.
Well, what I was actually thinking of, like getting all the ones, the events. I was going to getting all the ones that have the same title, and then like merging those events, and then every time there's a different title, actually like create a new one. But
because title includes stuff just like day.
Yeah, I know, and like trainer and stuff. So yeah, no, I think you're right. It's gonna break some people that have.
I would even push to a point where we go. Is there a point where we can just transition people to these new events, leave the existing ones running, so we don't interrupt that flow of the events that are existing there. There will be some, I don't know, like a Quelly or someone who do are using events and ongoing creating more
module events. Yeah.
I mean, we can't migrate.
There's no such thing as module events. There's a module that has a date.
Yeah.
There's no location as well. Maybe.
Yeah, it has a location as well.
Yeah.
So
I think
we need to remove those as well.
Yeah. I mean, I would be suggesting that when it comes to the migration, that's a problem we tackle in once we get a bit further along with the progress of this.
Yeah.
In that I think we can solve it. It's probably just not worth necessarily breaking down and trying to work out how they should do those bits right now.
Yeah, we can review what's like, because events are like short-lived, we can review what events are current when it comes time to migration, and is there any that I would break things.
Okay.
So, just to confirm, GTM plan for events? Right. Okay. Need to circle back around and get that done sooner rather than later if we're kicking the initiative off. Questions like the one you just asked then should have already been answered. Migration.
Yeah.
At least we should have a path to make sure they're answered.
Yeah.
Or that we don't forget that we asked them.
Yeah. Okay. What?
Next step is the Q&A. So feature team 3, this is your opportunity to ask us, so product analyst, product manager, UX lead, and Chris Wood is the architect. Any questions you have following the walkthroughs you've received and your review of the PRDs. So shoot, what are your questions?
PRDs or initiative and any problem with the new ceremony event.
Like ask about, can we back to the event creation. Event creation UI, we don't have allow user to choose the points on the map. We just set the last and long value by the box API, and I think this API you often return the wrong value. So when we show it on the map, the point is very easy to point on from address. I think we should allow user to choose the point on the map when create the location.
That can you back to the search or create a location on the UI? Dirk is he asking about the currently we just search the location and the point in the map is auto create by this the IBI the third party IBI. So he asked, can we allow the admin can put the point in the maps?
Yeah.
I would not want us to spend any effort on supporting that. I don't think it's important to most customers. So unless it was included as standard with whatever components you choose to use, then no, I wouldn't want to support that.
Yeah. I mean, it's more for generally they're relatively close, and it's more just the general overview. When you read the location, you can kind of also get an idea of like, oh yeah, I kind of know where that is. And then you click through to get a proper full Google map.
Yeah, I think guys, the my feeling is that the problem you're describing is a bigger problem in your city than it is in ours.
Yeah.
Because our streets tend to be further apart and all sorts of other things. When you say, you know, this number of this address, it's pretty accurate.
Right, yeah.
So whereas I think in Ho Chi Minh and cities like that, where the numbering can be a little bit strange, like your pins end up in weird places.
I see.
I think the point is it's probably not a problem if wherever the pin lands based on the geocoding at this point in time, it's probably not a problem.
It might be something we
nice
could
to have.
look at like later when we have full location.
I feel like it's a later improvement type of a thing rather than a we need it now type of.
Does that answer the question?
No, any other question?
So no, we don't want it, basically.
The other thing is the suggestion from a technical point of view is I'm suggesting that we're using one of the static maps here. So we're not actually loading JavaScript from these services. Which should keep the front end fairly light or like not add any bloat to the JavaScript. So we won't, I'm suggesting even on the front end as well, when you're looking at the screen, all you're seeing is an image, not an interactive map.
Yeah, because that also causes problems. scrolling and sorts of things.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Question. I think we have another question.
Well, this
yeah.
is your last opportunity. No, I'm joking. What we might do, because the story splitting sizing is scheduled for this afternoon after lunch.
There some guy here is happy with the BRD.
Yeah. How about we do a follow-up Q&A once you've done the story splitting, just to make sure if there are any questions that have come up during that we're answering them now.
So maybe the session 2 we will have more question.
So yeah, just to confirm, the story splitting is this afternoon.
Yep.
And Ian, if you are happy to attend that, I'm fine if you guys want to do that session in Vietnamese. But if you have any questions, what you can do is ping me and I can join the meeting and then we can discuss it in English, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay for us.
Okay, awesome. So what we're scheduled to do now is discuss the possible risks associated with this initiative and see if you're happy to lead that discussion.
Yep.
And do you guys have someone who's taking notes or a whiteboard you can use there?
So, I apologise if I'm jumping in and throwing around the process. I remember when we sat down with ThoughtWorks when working on it.
Yeah.
They sort of encouraged the idea that you, as you're working on the stories, there's a board that putting risks up, putting other things that come up as part of that process.
So there was this is kind of just top level ones, so not
sure,
in detail, and then anything else that comes up, I'll let you
if there's any,
breakdown.
yep, happy to.
Any early ones are there. I actually just want to raise a risk, and it's come up now a couple of times. Luke, are you the UI on this? Okay. It's really important, especially given this that as the UI you're involved in. So one of the key risks here is this is a new pattern, and the new UI pattern impacts the delivery schedule, because what we're finding is, just on a couple of things, we're not getting delivery to the UI, and because the UI you're not in retrospectives and showcases, which we need you guys in.
Yeah.
Where they're not getting, it's coming up later. Yeah. So for me, one of the risks is that the UI is not implemented in line with what's agreed, and I think the mitigation for that is that Luke is then available, is in all showcases, and that any questions about the implementation or issues with the UI are escalated at that point in time. I think that's the best way to handle that one. That's my top level.
Yep.
My top level risk. Chris, is there any large, high level architectural risks that need to be raised?
No, and I just we are designing to keep a lot of data structures very similar to how we've done events in the past. We're just moving them around a bit. So from that perspective, I think we've de-risked a lot of things.
I'm happy if that's the answer, then I'm super happy with that.
I think
the geocoding is a new thing. So if you want to just flag things that are new, we haven't done before, making sure that all stuff's working. But it's all provided by third parties, so I don't really see any major risk there. But it's new.
And how would we go about addressing that?
Implementing that as soon as possible. I think it's really key.
You're doing the architectural changes first. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, well, we set up that service. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, that part of the I guess it is very important. The UI mapping bit, I assume, is not majorly important, but the geocoding bit and making sure that we can then search on those things.
Yeah. For me, I think it would be this is probably the most I've seen lots of initiatives potentially touching each other.
Yeah.
In bits of the UI and different things that are happening. So updating changes. So I think it's going to be really important to make sure we're coordinating across feature teams with when we're working on certain things and making sure we deal with conflicts or don't grow. I guess, make sure that we're not doing something that someone else has already done, or
we're not inadvertently reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. Because just make sure you ask questions if you're not sure if something is already part of an existing pattern, because some of it in current UI, it might not be there, but it's actually stuff that's almost there with the reuse stuff and with the UX pattern stuff, and also just even the smaller ones with the flagging type stuff and things like that. There will be a lot of.
I think a really big one that's not necessarily for the engineering team is stakeholder management. So expectations of St. John versus Hayes.
I think one of the things that we need to do with that is we need to recognise that the goal here is to support the employer use case, and we need to start early go-to-market communication on that. That we're looking to support the employer use case with some extended capability. So Hayes, and those types of things are our next step in order to keep this within the target implementation window will be to talk about what the goal is in the context of content partners and where we might be going next step, because it's unlikely at this point in time, we haven't got schedules for any of these guys already. So we need to recognise it's probably part one of a two-part initiative.
For sure, and just mindful all the time in the initiative summary, it's all about us supporting St. John Q-Fairs to be closer to migrating.
And so this is step one, isn't it? But it's just what deliver that is now.
There is still at least half the outcomes, but more that we would deliver with you, unless it's the support and all of the different, a lot of the employer stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Other risks? Kian? Any risks that you can think of?
So the main risk will be the overlap work between feature team 3 and feature team 4 and feature team 6 for the price action. And also in the design, we use some new UX pattern that we haven't implemented before. So it could be a risk because we did not do research on our Python, the pattern.
And how would we go about mitigating that risk?
I suggest that we should add we should capture the new pattern. So let's say for the pattern that looks probably about progressive What's the Python name? Look, I don't remember, but the Python means that we only show the minimal information at one time, and when we will show more information each time the user click to view more. And I think we should capture the click on the next action so that we know the user really understand that they could action after the first step. So say for adding location, it took us around 2 steps to add a location to an event, and we should capture the user click on add location action if the user doesn't realize that they could click to add this and then they could click to add location, then the Python failed.
Okay, so you're suggesting as part of this, we need to ensure that we're capturing the actions in segment.
Yeah.
So that, an understanding of the journeys the users are following and where they might be getting stuck.
So the rest from the theme tree, we will start a new sprint is tomorrow. So what the prioritize of the event and location? So we will start this initiative tomorrow in with a new sprint, right?
That's right.
So it's just about it. Maybe we miss some things. So because we this afternoon we started within sizing, try accept and criteria, then tomorrow we start with that. So maybe it's a risk.
Yeah. Okay. Us missing something in the scope or technical solution because there being no lead time before you guys start development. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how we want to mitigate that?
So I think we just know and to lock if we miss something.
Yeah. And ensuring we're communicating as well. If there's anything that is unclear,
yeah,
that you let us know as soon as possible. And
so
we'll also know that we're attending those meetings, so the showcases, the retrospectives, obviously the story splitting session this afternoon to help surface things that might be overlooked.
sure.
Then I think the next Sunday she need to record the risk that we mentioned about.
Yes,
right.
we will record some risk when we do it in this afternoon.
Yeah.
And get some feedback, ISIP.
Yeah, these are just the high level risks. We can surface more specific ones as part of the story splitting.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Where's Taylor located at? There?
Anything else?
No.
So,
Okay.
question from the team.
No question.
Is there one more thing? Or is that?
What's that?
I thought someone said one more thing.
Oh, is there one more thing?
Yeah. No, just one more thing from the Stingray Food will be to the Australia for next week. So maybe the capacity of food is just the 50% in the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worry, put it closely to task.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe your capacity will increase. You never know.
Yeah. This will be increasing, not decreasing.
So that's it.
All right, great. So next we are looking at the story splitting and sizing. There's 15 minutes, almost an hour before you guys break for lunch, if you want to get started.
After, I think now it's just about the 11 hour. This, what time you are available in this afternoon?
I'm available the whole day.
Whole days, okay.
It's a one-day event.
So I think we can start to the after 30 minutes, then rest for the hour for the lunch. Then
okay.
Yep.
Hi, Tash. So just to confirm, in this afternoon, at the end of the meeting, we have release planning that require product analyst and checklist.
That's right. So I'll just I'll share the initiative kickoff and planning page from Confluence, just so we can review where we're at.
Okay, so
we've done the initiative overview and design walkthrough.
Yep.
We've done the technical design, Q&A, and high-level risk management.
Yep.
And then next, we're doing the story splitting, estimation, and release planning.
Yep, because the release planning is at the end of the day, so you are not available for this one, so we should note the site, the prioritize for the initiative and send to you, or is there any way that you prefer us for the release planning?
I would be happy to make myself available for that if you guys want to let me know when you're ready.
Okay, so we will ping you when the release planning is.
Awesome. Sounds good.
They're working hard to try and kick it off at the same time when they're to kick things off. So let's do that. That works out well.
Okay, great. So just to confirm, are you planning on breaking for lunch a bit early? Is that what's happening now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, enjoy lunch, everybody. And I'm looking forward to us chatting this afternoon about the release planning.
Bye, Tash.
Bye, Tash.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,